All right. So thank you all for the honor of speaking here today and sharing my story. When my son Tyler, who's part of the You Imagine program, mentioned that the You Imagine program might reach out to me to speak at this event, I thought, okay, well, I'll talk for 5 minutes or so about our business and some of our successes and challenges and such. Then about a week ago, I get Manning's email saying that the keynote speaker. So I sat there and I wondered, I said, what do I have to speak about? What do I have? What do they want to hear from me? I really struggle to understand when there are probably so many other larger corporate owners or people who can give much more inspiring or meaningful speech than I. And after talking to my son and Manning, they said they wanted to hear the story of maybe a non-traditional, or maybe it is a traditional entrepreneur. Maybe it is. I don't have a business background or economics background, and maybe this is how some people who aren't necessarily in business or economics might be able to become an entrepreneur. So then I began reflecting upon, upon my life's journey and the various things I've done to get here. Similar to life, entrepreneurship is a journey filled with experiences, and successful entrepreneurs learn from every experience, whether it's a success or failure, most of which might be failures, because you're always going to learn most from failures. Taking those lessons and storing them away until they might be needed someday to overcome another similar challenge placed in your path at some point. You have to take advantage of every opportunity and learn from it. Here's my journey and how it has led me to be an entrepreneur. So I want to give you a little bit of an overview about my experiences throughout my journey that have provided me with the skills to be a successful problem solver of the community. Not just an entrepreneur, but somebody in the community that can solve some problems, or people look to solve problems. I attended a small high school in New Jersey. Participated in soccer, wrestling, baseball. And also scouting was a huge part of my life. I obtained the rank of Eagle Scout and became the senior patrol leader of the troop. If you don't know what that is, it's the youth that's in charge of the scouting program. It's the single youth that's in charge of the scouting program. I think this is what gave me the strong foundation, leadership, and commitment to serving others, a theme you'll see throughout my discussion today. I went on to Ursinus College, obtained a degree in exercise and sports science in 1998. I continued playing soccer here at Ursinus, and I met my wife, Amy. We are one of the statistics, and many of our friends are. I was a member of Sigma Rho Lambda, where I met many of my very close friends that are still very close to us today, to the point where our children call them aunts and uncles. We travel with them. We've been to the Grand Canyon. We've been all over the Southwest. We go to Florida every year with them. My time at Ursinus, I spent my time at Ursinus, which allowed me to grow as a person. Coming from a small town, I was able to experience new and different things. And I became to understand how to connect with people and develop meaningful relationships, as I hope many of you are doing as well. My senior year here at Ursinus, I had an internship at the Jewish Community Center in Cherry Hill as an outdoor pool manager and a kinder camp program. I managed a kinder camp program in the outdoor pools. I managed about 30 lifeguards and other staff. This gave me kind of my first step towards being able to manage people and understand, when somebody doesn't show up on time, who does that fall on? The person in charge. And as an entrepreneur, that's something that will definitely pop up. After graduation, I became an aquatic and sports and leagues director at that community center for about 4 years, where I continued to manage the staff and develop programs that engage members and taught children swimming and other sport-related activities. But throughout my time at the JCC, I realized I enjoyed teaching, the teaching aspect of my job the most. So I applied to Rowan University, actually the week before our wedding. My girlfriend, now my wife at the time of our wedding, I was accepted and went back to full-time school for a master's degree in teaching special education. Amy was our only source of income for about a year. We just figured it out. A theme in our life that you'll see emerge shortly. I became a teacher now in my 20th year. I was a teacher of students with emotional disturbances and behavior disorder for about 5 years. Very challenging to deal with individuals exhibiting behaviors that you just don't quite understand because of whatever's going on in their life. You don't understand why they're throwing desks across the room, or why they're had an individual throw a 45-pound weight at another individual one time. So you just don't understand what goes through these people's minds, but you understand that there's a reason for that behavior, right? So I currently teach physics to students with special needs. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I teach multiple levels of physical science. And I also teach a course called Future Teachers, which is in conjunction with Stockton University. It's a program for seniors who want to potentially go into education. I was also assistant coach of the high school girls soccer team for about 10 years, and we went to 2 state championships, a robotics club advisor for 11, which allowed me to plan building robots to compete across the country in the first robotics competition. And there I also continued my education and obtained a school supervisor and principal certification and a member of our negotiations team. So I talk about these things because these are all things, these lessons, these activities, these things that I was involved with, all will help me later in life. I didn't know it at the time, but I call on some of those skills that I learned back then now as I move into my entrepreneurial life. My wife and I have 3 children. When they got to the age where they began to play sports, I stopped coaching at the high school and started coaching in town. I was able to use my prior soccer experience and my teaching experience to help become a leader within the club. The Haddon Heights Soccer Club board soon asked me to join as a trustee, as all boards do. When they see somebody who wants to volunteer and they want to do stuff, they grab them, they pull them in. When they see a leader in the community, they grab them and pull them in. They see somebody who's willing to be out there volunteering their time on most days during the week and Saturday and Sunday, they pull them in. I became the registrar managing the database of players. I also took on the task of revising the club's aging website. And later on, they elected me president of the soccer board. I don't know what that, I don't know what I was thinking, but you know what? It allowed me to gain more skills. In 2013, we bought our first business, Margaritas to You. We rent frozen drink machines for large and small events. So when your son or daughter is graduating from high school, college, or when you're graduating from high school, college, and you're within our delivery range, you can give us a call. So while our children were growing up, we also joined Haddon Glen Swim Club, seeking a place to cool off in the summer as well as a fun socialization. After talking with members and seeing a need for volunteers, I became the personnel director of the Haddon Glen Swim Club, responsible for onboarding and managing all personnel. So this then ultimately led to the opportunity as the owner and the operator of the Seahorse Reef, as we call it. So you can see that, I was continually building skills. I enjoyed, being a part of that community. I enjoyed learning from the many varied disciplines of people who you're working with. And throughout our journey together, our life together, my wife and I, as I said before, have a saying that constantly rears its head. We'll figure it out. And in lunch, talking with Maureen, I think that theme also came up in our conversations about similar entrepreneurial endeavors. We'll figure it out. When we bought Margaritas to You, we had a lot of things running through our head. Never having run a business before, having young kids, who's going to watch them? Making the deliveries, like we drop the machines off at people's homes, I have to go back and pick them up. Who's going to do those deliveries? What about timing? How do we manage multiple deliveries at one time? How will we be taking orders? I'm at work teaching all day. Who's going to man the phone? My wife also works as well. Then how do we develop a website if we want to take orders that way? Well, fortunately, when I was with the soccer club, I dove into trying to figure out how to fix their website. And so I had a little bit of knowledge. How are we going to fix the broken machines? Well, fortunately, I was involved with robotics, and I gained a little bit of an understanding of how to use power tools, particularly electrical connections, because that seems to be the biggest problem that we run into with that. How about cleaning the machines? Where are we going to clean them? We don't have a store or anything. How do we host? And one of the bigger things, believe it or not, is we had a big landscape trailer. How do we back it up? How do we put it in our backyard? I don't know how to do that. And in our backyard, we didn't have a large enough driveway, so we had to take our fence and we created a gate for our backyard to be able to park our landscape trailer when it's not being used in that area. And the biggest thing is, what if we fail? Big investment. To us, it was a big investment. So my wife and I would wake up every morning saying, oh, we're not going to do it. Then the next morning, let's do it. The next morning, I don't know. Back and forth. It was driving her crazy, I know. So finally, we figured we'll just figure it out. And, so then we bought the business. We bought the business, but most of all, called upon skills I obtained through prior experiences to help navigate these challenges. Obviously, as I said before, I had some website knowledge from the soccer club, and I also said about the robotics knowledge. And all of those prior experiences helped bring me to the point where I was comfortable trying to figure it out. So we continued to grow our business, and slowly we figured it out. One of the biggest examples that we talk about to this day around the dinner table is an opportunity when Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull called us, and they asked, they were providing slushies for the Firefly Music Festival. You guys, you young people are familiar with Firefly. At least I don't think this year it's happening, if I remember correctly, right? So it's about 100,000 young kids running around and this camp-like festival, and they wanted 20 margarita machines. Well, and there's specific margarita machines. At the time, we only had 14. So after talking with the Red Bull rep back and forth with a couple different things, I was more concerned about the electrical requirements and so forth and so on. But of course, we took the job. And my wife's like, how are we going to do this? And I said, we'll figure it out. And I called a friendly competitor near the shore, and I asked him if he'd be interested in partnering with me and giving us 6 machines. Working out a deal where he would provide 6 machines. So we did. We not only formed a partnership, we formed a friendship. This led to many additional opportunities with Red Bull because we leaped and we figured it out. To this day, we take machines to festivals in New York City, Ohio, Delaware, all over PA. They have pop-up festivals in the city. Uptown Beer Garden. You guys familiar with Uptown Beer Garden in the city? We have a machine. Well, they closed for the season. We have a machine there. That's Red Bull. So, and a couple other bars in the city as well. And then a few years later, that friendly competitor he decided he was buying another business, and he offered us the opportunity to buy his machines. And of course, at the time we were like, well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So we did end up buying them, and taking this leap and figuring it out led to 2 great opportunities. One, a tremendous relationship with Red Bull, which gave us wings, and then and the ability to purchase the company called Tropical Freeze's machines to expand our territory. And then, of course, along came COVID. So as most businesses will kind of, comment to, many, not most, many, some businesses thrived, right? Look at Zoom. But during COVID, no parties, no rentals, no income. So we had to figure it out. So we got a few calls from the bars in Philly who were able to sell takeout beverages while they were selling food. And so we pivoted a little bit, and we began advertising to some of those bars in the city, and we got some long-term leasing opportunities. And we started leasing machines monthly to bars and restaurants in the city. And this pivot even has continued to today and has become a great new revenue stream for us. In fact, Walnut Street Theater, does anybody know what's at Walnut Street Theater right now? Margaritaville. So we have a couple machines there for that. So they're renting from us for that event. So along came another opportunity that provided us an alternative revenue stream, and the story of how it came about is interesting, I guess. Is the Seahorse Reef Cafe. As I indicated in my introduction, I was asked to join the Haddon Glen Swim Club. It was around 2014, the board of the Haddon Glen Swim Club. After working on the swim club board for about a year, at the end of the season, some board members, including myself, toured the current snack bar cafe and realized it was not being managed appropriately. And throughout the year, we noticed that food was not good, was not clean. They were running out of stuff. And So we decided to launch a search for someone to provide better quality food for the swim club. When the search was exhausted with no one interested, Amy and I decided to take the challenge to revamp it and figure it out. So we decided to launch the Seahorse Reef Cafe. Now, neither one of us have ever, I've never even worked in a restaurant. Amy knows how to boil water. So we didn't know anything about food prep. We didn't know where to buy the food. We didn't know how to price the products. We didn't know anything about the menu, credit card stuff. We didn't know anything. So we figured it out. And what we did was we reached out to our network of friends that we knew had certain businesses, and we asked them for help. And guess what? They were willing to help us. And that's the biggest thing I think you should take here is your network of friends. Reach out, ask for help, but also when you become that expert, be willing to help. Be willing to help out those individuals that are just starting out. So it gave us an opportunity to really kind of grow a new revenue stream. And Kim, who is our current manager, without her, we would not be able to offer this Seahorse Reef Cafe. She worked in the summer at our local school as a cafeteria employee. So she was looking for summer work. She loved it. She bought in. She loved being there. So entrepreneurship isn't only about developing businesses. It's also about using your skills to help your community. I truly believe that. As I mentioned, I gave up coaching at the high school level, began coaching my own children. As I got more involved in the soccer club, I quickly realized the demand for youth engagement in soccer. Using my prior experience with soccer and at the JCC managing and developing top programs for kids, myself and 2 other dads decided to start a tot soccer program for 3 and 4-year-olds. We expected about 30 to 40 kids. We live in a small town. In the first year, that's what we expected. So we had 3 adults. We figured each one of us would take about 10 kids, maybe 12, and we'll do a good job. 96 players registered that first year. And so we originally didn't plan for this many, so we had to, of course, figure it out. And we partnered with the local high school to assist in facilitating the coaching, and everything worked out, and that program is thriving today. And fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have to be out there every Saturday morning. We have other people that are taking care of that now. So I was soon asked to join the soccer board of directors and became the registrar. As I said before, a year or so later, I was elected president. And after taking on that responsibility as president, I was soon told by the borough engineer that our field lighting poles were rotten. They were wooden poles, not the fancy ones that most of the places have here. They were wooden poles with the lights at the top. So they went up to change the light bulb, and the electrician looked down, and it was all hollow down the center of the pole. So I was quickly informed that we had to remove the poles and the lights so that they weren't a hazard in high winds. This left us no lights to run practice that typically would run from 6 to 9 p.m., especially after October when we change our times. What are we going to do? Figured it out. We quickly developed a plan. Short-term solution was renting construction lights. This required a larger than expected cash outlay for rentals, as well as even more fuel, more money for fuel. Plus, they were loud and stinky. So I was able to draw upon my skills previously obtained from the time I spent on my negotiations team at school, and began meeting with the borough to discuss financing options. And ultimately, after many, many, many exhausting meetings, we negotiated a partnership to begin a $300,000 light project for the field. All right, one last story. Our son Tyler became very involved in scouting. I decided to come to some of the scout meetings to see what they were doing. People started to realize my background in scouting, and I was soon elected to the position of committee chair, which oversees the activity of the troop. The committee chair also recruits and supports the scoutmaster, who is responsible for implementing the program. I don't know how many people are involved with scouting or have been, but so it's time consuming, but it's a great program. Soon it was announced that Boy Scouts of America were transitioning their program to allow girls to participate in scouting. I saw this as an opportunity to expand the troop and give local girls the opportunity to be part of this great leadership development program and outdoor skills program. After recruiting about 14 girls to join, my wife and I started the first female troop in Camden County, New Jersey. I became the committee chair, and Amy was voluntold to be the scoutmaster because we needed We needed somebody over the age of 21, and Amy fit the bill. So we just figured it out. Now we have 3 female Eagle Scouts in our troop and 3 very close to Eagle. And one's sitting right over there. She's got to get working. So this brings me close to the end of my discussion today, but there's still a few things. I had a ton of notes, and I needed to, there's a few things I wanted to say. 1, always be honest. Integrity or lack of will always follow you, always. Give back to your community. Remember, we all live on this great big round ball together, so give back when you can. A pet peeve of mine, complaining about a problem without a proposed solution is called whining. As president and committee chair of the organizations I was involved with, I had a standing rule. With every complaint, you must provide at least 2 solutions. They may not be the ultimate result that we go with, but it's a conversation to have among the board. Always work hard, people notice. And one thing I always tell my students when I teach, there are 2 things in life you really need to be successful: grit and emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is being able to talk to people, understand people, read people, all that type of stuff. But grit is never giving up, seeing obstacles in your way, interacting with those potential barriers, and then developing strategies to overcome these obstacles. And it's important, it's imperative in life. In anything you do, even if you don't become an entrepreneur, anything you do, grit is so important. All right, I've used the word journey many times today because entrepreneurship is a journey. Constantly learning, constantly adapting, always trying to figure it out. An entrepreneur is able to identify a problem or need and develop pathways to figure out that solution. Often the first solution is not the final solution, but it's still an opportunity to learn and grow. Take this with you. Remember, if you don't have big dreams and goals, you'll end up working for someone that does. That's all I have.
Check out some of the other content on our YouTube channel by clicking the videos on your screen now. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about what our center has to offer.